Shadows at Blackwater Bridge. I never imagined that a routine job could lead me deep into a mystery that would haunt me for years. My name is Jack Monroe, and I worked as the night security guard at the old Blackwater Cemetery in a small town in rural Missouri. I had taken the job thinking it would be quiet, just a lonely watch over silent graves under a starless sky. But nothing could have prepared me for the events that unfolded one cold autumn night. It was around 11:30 p.m. when my shift began. The cemetery, bordered by the twisting Blackwater Bridge that spanned a slow-moving creek, had an eerie beauty in the moonlight. I started my rounds, flashlight in hand, footsteps echoing on the worn gravel paths. The silence was almost absolute, except for the occasional rustle of dead leaves, and it set my nerves on edge. As I walked past the ancient tombstones, I noticed something odd. There, near the base of a centuries-old oak, was a small pile of wet soil that looked freshly disturbed. At first, I assumed it was just an animal digging, but upon closer inspection, I saw faint symbols etched into the soil. They resembled archaic runes, like a language from a forgotten time. My heart began to race. I pulled out my phone and snapped a few photos, unsure if I was witnessing something supernatural or just a prank gone wrong. That same night, as I continued my rounds, the atmosphere grew heavier. I kept hearing whispers that seemed to emanate from nowhere, a soft murmur that brushed past my ears, too articulate to be the wind. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, amplified by the solitude of the cemetery. But then, I caught sight of a shadow darting between the gravestones. It was too deliberate, too focused, and it vanished as soon as I turned my light in its direction. In the following days, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been marked by that night. I began to notice small changes around me. A door left ajar that should have been locked, and unexplained cold spots where no breeze could be found. I tried to rationalize everything. Perhaps I was simply tired from long shifts, or maybe the isolation was playing tricks on my mind. Still, the images of the etched symbols and the fleeting shadow haunted me. Determined to uncover the truth, I started talking with the locals. In the nearby diner, I met an elderly man named Sam, who had lived in town all his life. Over a cup of strong black coffee, he confided in me about the old legends of Blackwater Bridge and the cemetery. According to Sam, decades ago, a secretive group practiced rituals in the area, using the bridge as a portal between the world of the living and something else entirely. They believed that by performing their rites beneath the light of a blood moon, they could summon forces to bring them power and prosperity. But the rituals went awry, and many of the participants met mysterious, untimely deaths. Since then, locals whispered that the area was cursed, that on certain nights, the boundary between the natural and the supernatural blurred, and restless spirits roamed freely. One crisp October evening, armed with Sam's stories and my own mounting evidence, I decided to return to the scene. I drove to Blackwater Bridge, its weathered structure looming in the darkness, and parked my car near the cemetery's edge. The night was unnervingly still. I stepped out, my breath visible in the chill air, and approached the disturbed spot by the oak tree again. This time, as I knelt to examine the symbols, I felt an inexplicable pull, a cold shiver that ran right through my spine. I whispered softly, "What are you trying to tell me?" Almost immediately, the air around me thickened, and a voice, soft and mournful, seemed to speak directly into my mind. "Remember, the pact was broken." Startled, I jumped to my feet and scanned the darkness. There was no one there, only the silent, imposing presence of the cemetery and the creaking of the old bridge overhead. I realized then that I wasn't dealing with mere superstition. Something ancient and unresolved was at work here. That night, sleep eluded me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw visions of the past. A group of hooded figures gathered beneath the bridge, their faces obscured, chanting incantations that echoed with sorrow and despair. I saw flashes of a woman in a faded dress, her eyes wide with terror as she fled into the woods. Her image was so vivid, it made my skin crawl. I woke repeatedly, drenched in sweat, with the echo of that mysterious voice whispering, "Remember, the pact was broken." In the days that followed, I found myself compelled to piece together the fragments of this mystery. I scoured old town records and interviewed more residents, each story adding layers to the legend of Blackwater Bridge. It turned out that my great-grandfather had been a prominent figure in the town, a man who had once been involved with a secret society that believed in harnessing the energy of the supernatural. Their practices were abandoned after a series of tragic events, the very events that Sam described. It seemed that history was repeating itself, and I had become entangled in a legacy that spanned generations. Finally, determined to put an end to the haunting that now shadowed my every step, I returned to the bridge on a night when the moon was full and red, a blood moon, as the legends foretold. I stood at the center of the old bridge, the chill wind whipping around me, and I recited aloud everything I had learned about the pact, about the promise that had been broken. I pleaded with whatever force lingered in that cursed place, promising to restore balance and honor the ancient traditions that had been forsaken. For a long, agonizing moment, nothing happened. Then, as if in response to my sincere plea, the wind stilled, and the oppressive weight that had burdened me for weeks lifted ever so slightly. I felt a gentle warmth on my cheek, like a benediction, a silent acknowledgement that the curse might finally be lifted. I don't know if I truly succeeded, or if the curse remains dormant, waiting for the next breach of the ancient pact. But since that night, I have noticed a change. The whispers have faded, the shadow has not reappeared, and Blackwater Bridge, though still eerie, no longer fills me with the same dread. I share my story now not to frighten, but to remind us all that the past is never truly gone. Sometimes, old secrets and broken promises linger in the darkness, waiting for someone to remember and mend what was once shattered.